Hello, friends, and welcome back to r/ProRevenge. In our first story, our OP's bosses gave him a job that only a crew should do. Let's see what he did in the end. But before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to our channel if you're new here and turn on notifications so you don't miss a new video every single day. Here we go. Cut my resources and then put pressure on me? Okay. I work as part of an evil empire, multinational corporate, and am the lead continuous development and change analyst in charge of a medium-sized project. So at the beginning of December, I completed my initial review for a major part of what is to be delivered and advised that it would take until the end of January with my current operational resource to complete some of the required actions from the back of it. I also highlighted that I should be given an additional 2 full-time people to get it completed before January. Did I get people? Nope. Did they take a person away from me because they didn't seem to be doing that much? Yep. Bear in mind, this was being done by 2 people not on my reporting chain and above me on the food chain, so I couldn't scream blue murder about it. Last Monday, 19th, they pulled me into a meeting and basically gave me a bullocking because you were putting blockers in place which affect our year-end figures. They actually mean their incentives by this and realized it would affect them when trying to work out how much they would get, and I needed to get things done by the end of the month. Right. F you guys. You want to see what that guy was doing? You think you're my boss? My boss was effing livid, and she's cold decking each of their enhancement requests as soon as she's back in office. By the end of day Tuesday, I advised that I would have a full plan for acceleration of the project, ready for review and sign-off. But they would need to be available for a meeting on Friday the 23rd, today, last working day before Christmas, when they were both planning to slope off early for a few drinks. They didn't really like it, but they could hardly refuse as I was giving them what they wanted. You think it's all over? I booked the meeting for 12. Aren't I nice? Gonna let them work through lunch and still get to the pub. If you've heard the phrase death by PowerPoint, then you might think you know what's about to happen. 46 slides with example investigations into issues found in minute and boring detail. A line-by-line review of a 12-page document. At 16:30, with only a 15-minute break, they had no lunch, they had glazed eyes. They agreed to the process outline. You think it's over now? I then offered to go through the addendums, or if they wished, they could take them home and review them, but if I could get an answer before 10 p.m. today, as I wanted to turn my phone off for the Christmas period, and I'd need to get the ball rolling first thing Wednesday. This was the riskiest part of my plan. They gratefully said they would study the addendums at home as they knew it was getting late. I got message from both of them within a few minutes of 9:50, all approved. Let's take a vote. Do you think they read them? I know they didn't. The addendums promised me 18 full-time operations staff over the next week, and given the holiday period, the department will fail to meet other BAU targets, which have a direct impact on their incentive. I forwarded the sign-offs with the documents attached to my boss, who's going to raise a concern that this level of manpower was agreed without referring to their boss, with their boss, on Wednesday. She's also going to raise a concern about the tone of meetings they've had with me and the behavior they've displayed. Now it's over. And our second story. Employee parking? To give a little backstory, I work at a medical facility, and the company is a very large employer in the immediate area. My wife and I both work for this company, albeit at separate locations. I work at the main facility, which is a significantly large campus in the next town over. This is a busy place. It's a large hospital, and I work nights. This is all relevant. Night shift and swing shift, or pretty much anyone starting at or after 4 p.m., is allowed to park pretty much anywhere. This is because most of our facilities are shut down and non-accessible to patients or visitors. The parking lot most of my coworkers, and myself, park in, is actually next to a series of offices that were recently relocated. So it's even more empty and useless space than usual, especially at night. Out of nowhere, all the employees parking in this area are getting tickets from the company. It's patient parking, and employees must park in employee-designated areas, which are, of course, the gravel pit, that's about a 20 to 30-minute walk from the main facility, or the back 40 that's just as far, just on a different side of the campus. Because the weather has been crap, and because I received a compliance warning ticket, I emailed my department manager and said I'd be happy to follow the parking policy. So tonight, technically last night, I only just got home, I drive my happy little self to work and I park a good 20 minutes from the main entrance. Then I call our security team. You see, our facility has in place a policy that at any time, literally any of the 24 hours in the day, any patient, visitor, or staff member may call the security office and ask for the courtesy shuttle to pick them up and escort them to any of the facilities on campus. So I did, and I let them know where I was parked, under a marked streetlight, very helpful, and told them I'd be waiting for my escort to the main entrance. They came after warning me that I shouldn't rely on them, and I let them know that if it was an issue, they were welcome to provide me, in writing, a reason why, so I'd be able to, in turn, provide that to my supervisor. And this morning, at the end of my shift, I called and asked for someone to meet me at the main entrance so I could be escorted back to my vehicle. When I was dropped off at my car this morning, I asked if the security officer would be back tonight. We'd been making small talk, and I was being a bit of a jerk. I told him I would be back and would be calling again if he wanted or needed to pass that on. Again, I was told that security is busy and has other concerns. I told him I would continue to park in the employee parking spaces, but given the unsafe weather conditions, I'd be relying on security to escort me to and from the building per our company's policy and procedures. I reminded him that any incident on company property whilst I was either on my way to or out the door from work is still covered under workman's comp, and let him know I'd see him tonight. I'm pretty sure security does have much larger concerns, but until policy is actually set in ink that nights and evenings are exempt from the employee parking rules, I plan on continuing to be a compliant little a-hole. And our last story. Business is business. So I'm 25, fresh with a BA in economics. I picked up a job for $35K a year as a business consultant for a smallish company in the area. Now, I'll use a pseudonym for my boss's name here. He'll be Jeff. Jeff and I seem to get along. The only problem is that he's a product of the 80s. Everything was about cutting corners and cutting costs as much as possible to stay stable in bad times. But this was around 2009, and my take on it was that it'd lead to businesses continuing to drop out. They cut costs, which cuts demand in the area, which further kills businesses, so we have to expand our areas further and further just to break even. And you know, I'm okay with this, because where he'd offer his expertise in the business, I'd offer mine from an economic standpoint, and much of the time my ideas ended up with better results. Well, Jeff doesn't like this too much. He cut his teeth in business when I was still in diapers, right? So he keeps moving me off projects and onto smaller ones, where the commission isn't as great and the businesses are already knee-deep in cost-cutting, so it's almost impossible to turn it around as people keep leaving the area because they've been foreclosed on. But that isn't what got me. Oh no. We're talking about a 6-figure contract now, and he taps me to work on it because we recently lost a senior analyst. This is my chance, right? So I work with this business for months straight, and slowly what started as a 10% quarterly loss turned into 5%, then breaking even, before finally turning a profit. It'd be a nice, tidy bonus for me. Bzz, wrong. After the last quarterly report pegged their growth at around 3%, they started slipping back again. Why, you ask? Because my boss went over my head and started offering his own consultation. They'd make much more money, he reasoned, if they just cut back on workers, brought on some temps at half of the pay of their staff, or eased off maintenance of their machinery. So they started doing that, and they started falling behind. My boss then blamed this on me and my delusions of grandeur and my naivete. I figured out that he'd been reviewing my work, then replacing my suggestions and analysis with his own. They fired, under his consultation, half of their workforce who knew what they were doing by then and replaced them with temps who didn't know what they were doing. The resultant waste numbers blossomed higher than they'd ever been, and they were mad. They wanted blood, and my phone was ringing off the hook as they blamed me for their company's negative turnaround. So I quit. But I was so damn mad I wasn't doing anything with my money. I already had a stable home and revenge money saved up that I didn't have to work for about 10 years. But that's not revenge, is it? It started small. I worked out of my apartment, calling up the small businesses that I had successfully consulted over the couple of years, freed them from the oppressive grasp of my former boss, who'd started filling their heads with fear-mongering about wasted profit. One business turned into 3, then 10. Jeff's company was starting to flounder because while the larger businesses paid much more because of their size and complexity, the bulk of his profit came from these smaller, quicker jobs with tinier independent companies. With this new profit, I put down on a small property down the road from Jeff's office, one of the many businesses that shut down during the recession, partly due to his corrupting influence. I needed more people, so I hired a recent econ graduate to help me out. I bide my time, snatching up small contracts and working on pulling the larger ones. Lots of driving, cold calls, and actively showing up. I finally returned to the company that had trouble before, the one Jeff threw me under the bus for, and lo and behold, who do I find? But Jeff himself. The owner of this company was having a rather heated argument with Jeff about the state of his business, and Jeff, being who he was talking his way out of it. So I roll up, portfolio in hand, filled with these successful reports from the small businesses I already took from Jeff, and as soon as he sees me, his eyes go wide as dinner plates. In front of God and everyone, I start my pitch. I push this portfolio onto the owner and explain, in cold, calculating detail, how I managed to keep these businesses running. The gears are turning in the owner's head, and Jeff looks apoplectic. Before Jeff decided he knew better than I did, I was doing this for your business too. All hell breaks loose. Jeff just wails on me. You ungrateful little crap, and after all I did for you, nobody else would hire a college puke with no business experience. The owner had him escorted off the property, and I offered my services to his company for free until he realized that I knew what I was doing. A few months later, I had a neat little 6-figure contract of my own, my very first one, and I brought 2 more people on payroll. Jeff wasn't too happy, though. Oh no. He started sending me harassing emails, thinly veiled or not at all threats, so I responded the best way I could. I sent him a bouquet of flowers with my card, and on the back of it, sorry to hear about your business troubles. If you need a business consultation, you're welcome to give me a call. It's now 2016, and his business is shuttered. I'm currently working from home due to an accident that broke my arm, but my second in command, a woman with an econ degree, called me on Monday. We picked up another 6-figure contract and will need new people. She had someone in mind for the position, best resume in the pile, a guy by the name of Jeff with 40 years of business consultation experience. I told her to toss the resume and go for someone else. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.